Welcome, guys. Elden Greens. For real this time. But apparently, super real, because literally nobody got mad at my fake review. Like, what the heck, guys? I gave it a 6 and nobody cared. The video has no dislikes. Like, dude! Elden Ring. The 7th, 8th, or 9th Souls game, depending on how you want to look at it. This game is good. Really good. And I think the fact that this game stands as it does speaks volume to the absolute catalog of From Software. But is that catalog 7 games or just 1 game? I don't know. Just go to the review. The open world of Elden Ring is the most defining factor of this game. This was a huge step forward From Software took with this game, and wow, just look at it, dude. This is a huge open world. In contrast to the more straightforward level design of the other games, this game's branching paths is the game itself. You get whooped by a boss, and then you explore the open world so you can come back and beat that boss. The open world was a masterful progression of the Dark Souls formula. Or was it? The thing about this open world is that it's probably one of the 2 actually good open worlds, and yet I still feel the lack of effort when it comes to most of the gameplay that comes from the open world. The best parts of Elden Ring are the more linear sections where every sequence and reaction feels thought out. I'm talking about the Bloodborne Castle, Lindale City to the Elden Tree. These are unfortunately exceptions. Especially in late game, it starts to feel like I can count the different structures on one hand. You have the church, right? The ruins thing, this dungeon, the mine, this tree, the circle thing too, all 50 times each spread throughout the world. It feels almost depressing to know that possibly the best open world we've seen so far still struggles with the basic problems. There is a lot here, but eventually the variety runs out. However, the game also seriously bases itself around the open world. But most of the dungeons or levels are pretty short or basic, which results in the adventure of the game constantly coming to a stop because the objectives end so fast. The reason it took me 5 years to complete this game was because it was annoying to keep having to find new things to work towards. Now, when thinking about this game's difficulty, I thought I made a revelation talking about how increasing it through damage and health scaling was lazy. Turns out it's just called difficulty scaling, so yeah, whatever. But basically, yeah, this game is just dumb with this, especially with the open world. In contrast to the at least linear scaling of the other games, this game is just not consistent. Caelid is like 5 feet away from Limegrave, but it's a late game location. It just appears a lot messier because it's an open world and you can't just increase the numbers as the player moves because now you don't know where the player is moving. I think in this game more than any other, the scaling felt cheap and annoying. Usually when I lost a boss fight, I questioned if I was really doing enough damage or if I had enough health. And part of this kind of comes down to the kind of basic mechanics of Dark Souls. I'm sorry, I know that sounds crazy, but people forget that this is still an RPG, you know? It definitely is possible to provide more expansive mechanics that you can continuously master, you know, Sekiro proved that, but not with Elden Ring. The true way to increase difficulty is to challenge the player's mastery of the mechanics, right? Halo 1, for example, everybody knows the last level is harder than the first level, yet there is never changes in damage or health. And that's something I think From Software still has to work on, because we all know the age-old saying, good difficulty is easy to pick up, but hard to master. Dark Souls is hard to pick up and easy to master. Now, while I might sound like I hate this game right now, I still did like it, you know? Dark Souls has a different sense in difficulty where instead of learning the game, you learn the enemies or bosses, right? And yet this is like more of a trick, and it can get pretty old, but it's still satisfying to kill bosses, you know? Although some of them are just absolutely horrendous in this game. I also did enjoy progressing through this game. From Software just makes quality games, you know? Even though it wasn't as enjoyable for me as Dark Souls 1 or 3, it was like playing through a new experience of Dark Souls, you know? But what I really got the most mileage out of this time around was the multiplayer. This game's world made it cool to play with friends. I remember going to Caelid for the first time with Jidden 6 and the GOAT! Mini Sniper, and even though Caelid is like the worst location in the game, it was still a blast playing as a night squad, you know? But not just PvE. PvP in this game is probably the best it's ever been. People have such unique builds, and it's funny spamming a Fortnite default skin. Multiplayer and PvP have always been part of the Souls games, but something about Elden Ring and its community really made me put time into it, you know? It's not really a super serious part of the game, but it's enjoyable, dude. Elden Ring was a slight disappointment to me, but only because of the super high standards that From Software has maybe unintentionally created. It is a shame that in one of the only games to really live up to itself is one that I am disappointed with, but man, that doesn't even matter. It is probably the most acclaimed game of the decade. I'm proud, dude. The amount of content that this game offers is insane, and it's good that I didn't beat it in like 20 hours, you know? I had my problems, but yeah, man, it just sucks, you know? It sucks that it had to be this way, but trust me, guys, things like this will only make it better when I do talk about something special. I give Elden Ring a 7, a good 7. So yeah, goodbye, guys. I'll see you in the next video.
Mediator of the Funk. Oh, Erdtree, grant me succor. Hello? Is anybody there? Someone who might be interested in rescuing the great Kenneth, servant to the true order and celebrated repudiator of the false. Oh, Erdtree, grant